Welcome back, first grade. It's Miss Vanrick here with your CKLA. Today we are going to read Amon-Ra and the Gods of Ancient Egypt. Okay. Our learning objectives for today are to review the features of ancient Egyptian civilizations, explain the religious beliefs and practices of the ancient Egyptians, demonstrate an understanding of the words depicted, specific, and completely, and use a graphic organizer to identify the religious beliefs and practices of ancient Egyptians. Our key vocabulary for today are blossom, depicted, and lotus. Blossom is a noun, and a blossom is the flower on a plant or a tree. Roderick picked a beautiful cherry blossom off of the tree. Depicted is a verb, and depicted means shown in pictures or described in words. Her painting depicted a sunny day at the ocean. That is a picture that depicts the sunny day at the ocean. All right, lotus. Lotus is a noun, and a lotus is a plant with pink flowers that grows on the surface of the water. As they rode down the river, they passed a lotus. All right, where is Egypt? Where's the continent of Africa first? Where's the continent of Africa? Let me get my pointer. This one, the one that is yellow and orange. Okay. And where is Egypt? Remember, Egypt is the country in the northeast corner of Africa. So it's right here. Very good. All right. So let's review these image cards. I want you to look at the pictures and tell your elbow buddy or somebody around you what you remember about it. This one. I think about the Nile River and how it is the gift, right, to the Egyptian people, because when it floods, it gives rich soil full of vitamins and minerals that allow the Egyptians to farm and grow crops, right? How about this one? I think about what the other things that they use the river for, like the canals, right? The canals that they dug so that their city wouldn't flood. And I also think about, while I'm thinking about other ways that they use their river, I think about when they fish on the river, right? This one. This one makes me think about their writing, right? And it's called hieroglyphics. But just one symbol is a hieroglyph, okay? So this is a hieroglyph, 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 and this is a hieroglyph. But all together, they are hieroglyphics. Oh, and those were their form of writing. All right, so in the previous lessons, you learned about Miri and her family in ancient Egypt. Who can point to Miri? Here she is. So today we are going to learn more about Miri and her mother in ancient Egypt, learning about their religion or their belief system. Remember, our key vocabulary are blossom, depicted, and lotus. I want you to listen carefully to find out what the ancient Egyptian gods looked like and what kinds of things they did. Here we go. The old stories from Egypt said that some of the gods and goddesses looked like specific animals the Egyptians saw around them and in their own country, or a mixture of animals and human beings. For example, one common Egyptian bird was a small hawk called a falcon. The ancient Egyptians believed in a god named Horus, who was depicted or shown in pictures or described in words as a man's body topped with the head of a falcon. Okay, do you see that one in here? You kind of have to look very carefully. It's this one right here. He's got the head of a falcon. All right. Another of their gods, Sobek, was depicted with a human body but the head of a crocodile. There have always been real crocodiles living along the banks of the Nile River, and they are always hungry. They often try to catch and eat other animals. In the old days, people believed that Sobek, saying. Get down. Where were we? In the old days, people believed in Sobek, the god with the crocodile's head, so that they could pray to him to keep real crocodiles away. The Egyptians were careful to say nice things about him. See, they would say, "We made a handsome statue of you, great Sobek, and we will leave meat and fish in front of the statue for you to eat." So here is Sobek. You see his crocodile head? All right. Another Egyptian god was depicted as a cat, another as a hippopotamus, and so on. Others looked completely human, but were still thought to have special powers. The ancient Egyptians' most important god had different names in different parts of Egypt. Some of them called him Omon, some of them called him Ra. But sometimes they would put them together as Amon-Ra. These were all names for the Egyptian god of the sun, whom they said created everything, including many of the other gods and goddesses. Okay? So you just heard some real ideas the ancient Egyptians had when it came to their religious beliefs. Let's listen as Miri's mother tells her a story about Amon-Ra and the Egyptian god of the sun and what the ancient Egyptians believed about the creation of the world. Miri and her mother were washing clothes down at the edge of the Nile. Miri's mother said Amon-Ra started out by living inside a large, beautiful flower called a lotus. In those days, everything was covered with water, and the lotus flower was under the waves. Finally, Amon-Ra thought, "It is time for this lotus to rise up out of the water and open its petals." And because he was powerful, it happened. So right now, who's telling the story? Miri's mother, right? And how do we know that? Because it told us, it said, Miri's mother said. "That is amazing," Miri said. She turned to set some wet clothes on a large rock so the sun would dry them. Her mother replied, "You have not yet heard the most wonderful part. After the lotus blossom opened, Amon-Ra said, 'Now I will make everything else in the world, just by thinking about each thing and using my powers. I will think of other powerful gods and goddesses so I won't be lonely. I will make the stars and planets, the sun and the moon and the birds and the fish and the plants and the animals, and I will make the first human beings too.' After he made everything, Amon-Ra picked up the sun and put it into a big boat." "The whole sun?" asked Miri. "Yes, Amon-Ra is very strong. He sailed his boat with the sun in it across the whole sky until he reached the other side. Then he rested and did it again the next day. He still does this every day, and when he rests, it is night." What do you think the Egyptians were trying to explain with this story? How the sun rose and then would go down, right? Okay. Miri thought this over and asked, "Why can't we see him or his boat? Maybe he and the boat are too far away, up in the air, and we can only see the bright sun shining from the back. Or perhaps the sun is so bright that we cannot look carefully enough to see the boat. After all, you must not stare at the sun. That will hurt your eyes." Miri said, "Well, I am glad Amon-Ra decided to make the sun, or we could not dry our laundry." And Miri's mother laughed. All right, guys, comprehension questions and word work, and then we're done. All right, so describe the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt. What did most of them look like? Most of them look like people or animals or a mixture, right? And what did the ancient Egyptians believe the gods and goddesses did? Take care of the people and created parts of the world, right? Who was Amon-Ra? the god of the sun, right? And they believe that he created the world. And what did Mirit's mother say about the story? What did Mirit's mother's story about Amon-Ra explain? That she believed Amon-Ra created the world and was the reason for the rising and setting of the sun. So I want you to summarize the myth you just heard about Amon-Ra's creation of the world. So what was the story about Amon-Ra that the mother told? In the beginning of the myth, Amon-Ra lived inside a lotus flower which was underwater. He made it rise up out of the water and blossom. Then he made everything else in the world from his imagination, including the first human beings. Next, he put the sun into a boat and sailed it across the whole sky, and then he rested. Right? That's what they believed. So, how are the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt the same or different from the gods and goddesses of Mesopotamia? So, there were many gods and goddesses for different things in both Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. The gods and goddesses of Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt looked different, though, right? So I have another question for you. If they both believed in many gods and goddesses, that means that they were what? Polytheistic. Okay. All right, word work time. So in the read aloud you heard, Sobek was depicted as having a human body, but the head of a crocodile. Say the word depicted with me. Depicted. Can you whisper that? Depicted. How about mouse voice it? Depicted. When something is depicted, it is shown in pictures or described in words. By drawing all of the different equipment and making it bright and sunny, Sammy depicted the playground in his picture as a fun place. How have you depicted your favorite places? Try to use the word depicted when you tell about it. What's the word we've been talking about? Depicted. Good job. Okay. Describe how gods are depicted in this picture, but be sure to use the word depicted and answer in complete sentences. This god is depicted as a cat. Okay. This god is depicted as a person, but with a falcon head. This god, which is Sobek, is depicted as a person with a crocodile head. Okay? So, what have you learned about the gods and goddesses in ancient Egypt? We've kind of already answered that. They looked like people or animals or people mixed with animals, right? And the ancient Egyptians believed that they controlled things or even created things in our world, right? That's what they believed. Okay. All right. So in the read aloud, you heard the old stories from ancient Egypt said that some of the gods and goddesses looked like specific animals the Egyptians saw around them in their own country or a mixture of animals and human beings. I want you to repeat the word specific. Specific. Specific means an example of a certain kind of thing. An apple is a specific type of fruit. The opposite of specific is general. For example, the word cat is specific, but the word animal is general. Here are several pairs of words. I want you to tell me which is specific and which is general. So, color and green. Which one's the general word? Color. And which one is specific? Green. How about this next one? Milk and drink. Which one is specific and which one is general? Milk is specific and drink is general. All right, here's our next one. 3 and number. Which one is specific and which one is general? 3 is specific and number is general. How about girl and Maria? Which one is specific and which one is general? Girl is general and Maria is specific. Winter and season. Which one is specific and which one is general? Winter is specific, and season is general. Good job, guys. All right. How about completely? In today's read aloud, you heard others looked completely human, but were still thought to have special powers. Say the word completely. Completely. Completely means totally, all the way, or not lacking anything. An example: rain from the heavy storm completely covered the road and we couldn't get through. All right, guys, let's check our learning objectives for today. Review features of ancient Egyptian civilization. Check. Explain the religious beliefs and practices of the ancient Egyptians. Check. Demonstrate an understanding of the words depicted, specific, and completely. Check, check, check. Use a graphic organizer to identify the religious beliefs and practices of ancient Egyptians. We're going to do that later. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.